Welcome to Staying Buoyant and Proactive During Times of Change, a learning series brought to you by the Alameda County Training and Education Center. I'm Ruth Kim, Senior Trainer and Consultant, and I am happy to be your facilitator for this series. The series is organized into 3 parts: understanding change, staying buoyant, and being proactive. Let's get started on part 1, understanding change. So chances are you're viewing this training because you're experiencing some pretty significant change in your work life. The most biggest apparent one affecting all of us is how the COVID-19 coronavirus has been reshaping our social world and our interactions and creating a new norm. So maybe you've transitioned into being a remote worker for the first time. Maybe you're experiencing the pressure of new assignments because of how organizational needs have changed drastically. For me, I'm moving from the classroom setting to this virtual platform. Or maybe the sheer volume of your work has increased substantially because your clients have multiplied their demand for your services. Regardless of how this sort of change and any major change at work in general looks, one thing for certain is that all organizational change that affects our work is experienced on a personal level. We can't get around the fact that all change is personal. Let's illustrate this point that all change is personal. Cross your arms right now, the way you usually cross your arms. You relaxed with your arms crossed? Now uncross them and then cross them the other way, the way you wouldn't normally cross your arms. How does that feel? Kind of awkward? A little confusing? Good, it worked. Change, when it's experienced at the personal level, can be awkward and uncomfortable. Let's try another activity. On a sheet of paper in front of you, go ahead and sign your name. Sign it like how you usually would. Your autograph is unique and valuable, so sign away. Now put your pen in your other hand and sign. For most people, especially me, signing with their non-dominant hand can make you feel clumsy and like a beginner. It's messier than your original signature, and your penmanship goes out the door far away from you. That's how organizational change can affect us. It can be confusing, it can be really challenging, and it can make you feel uncertain, maybe insecure if you don't have the clarity or mastery quite yet to do things differently. It can even make you feel isolated and alone in the process, especially if the learning curve feels steep. The research in neuroscience shows that we like certainty. Certainty brings clarity and predictability, whereas change can activate a threat in the brain. This can trigger powerful effects on your body and emotions. Basically, you go into fight, flight, or freeze mode. David Rock, author of the Handbook of Neuroleadership, explains that uncertainty registers as an error, gap, or tension in the brain, something that must be corrected before one can feel comfortable again. That's why people crave certainty. Not knowing what will happen next can be profoundly debilitating because it requires extra neural energy. This can diminish memory, undermine performance, and disengage people from the present. Tamar Chansky, who is the author of Freeing Yourself from Anxiety, says, "How we thrive is through routine and predictability. It gives us a sense of control. When there are big changes, we're suddenly thrown into a state of uncertainty." And so, it's perfectly normal to feel fear and be unsettled with change. It's a normal human reaction when we don't feel totally in control and certain about the future. The unhealthy part is with inappropriate and unhelpful responses, like fighting change, presenting a negative attitude, or ignoring its meaning. And so, what is it that's really hard about change? It could be that we're forced to break old habits. For example, procedures have changed. Maybe there are new regulations, and so we can't do things the same way we've always done them. Learning new skill sets. This can be scary, like with new technology we're not familiar with. Sometimes we don't have the clarity about the change, why it's happening, what's going to happen, and how it's going to look in the end. And so we're having to confront and deal with uncertainty head on. Taking on more responsibility. Maybe the change that's required is more responsibility than in the past. Perhaps your manager has put you in charge of leading your team on part of the change. Adjusting to more and faster change. Maybe the change creates a lot more volume in your workload where you need to work faster. Maybe processing more cases at a rate that just doesn't seem realistically possible or sustainable. And so, as a result of any of these, we could have a number of personal responses. We could feel awkward, ill at ease, and self conscious. We could resist change that feels forced or imposed on us. We might need ways to deal with our anxiety or express it. We might not be able to stop thinking about what we must give up. Or we could even feel alone, even if everyone else is going through the change. We could feel like we can handle only so much change. We could have distorted perceptions of the change, its sources, and its effects. We might even make up information in the absence of it. And we could very well be at a different level of readiness for change from our coworkers. We could be concerned that we don't have enough resources or time to do what we're asked. And we might just revert to old behavior because that's what's comfortable and familiar to us. Once we acknowledge and embrace that these are very natural human responses to big change, there are things we can do to manage ourselves and our needs so that we stay buoyant in the process and be proactive by discovering our best response and better self in this process. This is the upcoming focus of parts 2 and 3 in this series. But before we go there, let's do a quick exercise. To do this, you'll need a sheet of paper and something to write with. Take a moment and jot down 3 recent important changes, positive and negative, that has happened in your life. Make sure you have examples from both your personal and professional life. And then once you've written down 3, choose one of those changes to focus on. What were your feelings during that change? What did you lose? And then what did you gain? What were your feelings when the change was completed? And once you had a little distance and gained the opportunity to reflect on what had happened? This concludes part 1 of Staying Buoyant and Proactive During Times of Change. Thank you for viewing and learning with me.